When a computer gets slow, people do one of three things. They add more memory, they buy a graphics card, or they walk into a shop and replace the whole machine. Today, I am doing none of that. This computer is 12 years old. Microsoft has officially declared it finished. And I am going to make it feel new again without changing a single part inside it. The machine on my desk is a Dell Optiplex from 2013. Intel Core i5 4th generation, 8 GB of memory, a spinning hard drive, the kind of PC that offices bought by the pallet, the kind that sold secondhand for around $45 once the corporate lease was up. There are millions of these across America, sitting in cupboards, sitting in garages, sitting on the way to landfill. When Windows 11 arrived with its new hardware rules, every one of these machines became worthless overnight. I am not installing Linux. I am not installing a lightweight version of Windows. I am installing the operating system that runs on your phone. The one Google gives away for free, and by the end of this video, that 12-year-old office computer is going to be running Android 13. On October 14, 2025, Microsoft ended support for Windows 10. No more security updates, no more fixes, no more help. You can pay for one more year of protection through what Microsoft calls extended security updates, but that runs out on October 13, 2026. After that date, if your PC cannot run Windows 11, Microsoft's position is simple: throw it away and buy a new one. Hundreds of millions of computers do not meet the Windows 11 requirements, not because they cannot do the work, because the goalposts moved. Your machine still turns on, it still runs, it just no longer has permission to be safe. The operating system I am installing is called Bliss OS. It is a version of Android built specifically for desktop and laptop computers. As of early 2026, the current release is Bliss OS 16.9, based on Android 13. The whole download is about 2.2 gigabytes. Here's the part that matters. Bliss OS is open source. It is developed by Bliss Labs, a registered nonprofit run by unpaid volunteers. There are other Android systems for PC. Prime OS from India, Phoenix OS from China. Both of them are free downloads with no source code. Bliss has a direct message about that on its own website. When a company gives you free software and hides the source, in their words, that typically leaves you as the product, with no way of knowing what data they are collecting. Bliss is the one build where anyone can read every line of what is running on the machine. There is one hard requirement. Since 2024, every recent Bliss build targets a processor instruction set called x86-64v2. In plain terms, that means Intel Haswell or newer, roughly any Intel Core from 2013 forward, or AMD Excavator and later. If your machine is older than that, Bliss will not boot at all. It is a real gate. Check it before you go any further. There are two ways to install Bliss. The first is the traditional route. Flash the image to a USB stick using a tool called Rufus. Boot from the stick, wipe your drive, install fresh. That works, but it deletes Windows. The second way is the reason this video exists. Bliss provides a Windows installer, a single executable file named AndroidX86 install v29. You download it, you double-click it, you point it at the Bliss image, and it installs Bliss next to your existing Windows. Your files stay where they are. Your Windows partition is untouched. If you decide Android is not for you, you boot back into Windows and everything is as you left it. There is even a cleanup option built into the installer in case you tried Prime OS or Remix OS or an earlier Bliss on this machine and something went wrong. It resets the mess before starting fresh. For a person who has spent a lifetime being told that installing a new operating system means losing everything, this is the sentence that matters. Your files are safe. This does not delete Windows. The Bliss documentation walks through the steps in plain language. Grant the installer administrator permission. Select the Bliss image you downloaded. Confirm the target. That is essentially the whole process. The machine reboots. A blue selection screen appears asking which operating system to load. Choose Bliss. And there it is, the Android setup screen, the same one that greets you on a new phone, running on a 12-year-old Office desktop. Sign in with a Google account, or skip it. Language, time zone, standard Android, the desktop loads. It looks like Android because it is Android. But the layout has been rebuilt for a mouse and keyboard. There is a taskbar at the bottom of the screen. There is a start menu, which Bliss calls the Bliss button. It behaves the way a PC user expects. One small problem, straight away. On several First Boots users report the taskbar does not appear until it is granted permission in the Bliss customization panel. 2 clicks in the settings and it stays. But if you did not know that, you would think the whole system was broken. It is not broken. It is one of the rough edges of a project written by volunteers. The whole Bliss OS download, again, is about 2.2 gigabytes. A single Windows cumulative update is often larger than that. The entire operating system, the desktop launcher, the settings, the base apps, all of it weighs less than 1 monthly patch from Redmond. That is the number that tells you what you need to know about how heavy modern Windows has become and how light the alternative is. What can you do with it? This is where the reviews and long-term user reports on Exdia and SourceForge line up. Bliss is described by daily users as excellent for browsing, email, video streaming, and general Android app use on modest hardware. Chrome runs, YouTube runs. The Google Play Store installs and gives you access to the same apps you already use on your phone. The design goal of the project is explicit on the Bliss Labs page. They target machines released in the last 8 years. Not brand new hardware, old hardware. The point of the operating system is to keep those machines useful. Now, honest caveats. Users on the project's own forums report that some apps have no close button because on a phone you swipe them away, and on a desktop there is nothing to swipe. You end up going into the recent apps view and force stopping apps one by one. This is a known issue that the Bliss team acknowledges. Second, the default settings out of the box are described in user reviews as poor. You will spend time in the settings, turning things on and off before it feels right. Third, and this is the big one for anyone thinking about phone apps on their PC. Many popular Android apps are built only for the ARM processors used in phones, not for the Intel processor in your PC. Bliss handles this through a translation layer called Native Bridge. Native Bridge works, but it needs that same x86 4v2 CPU, and it is one of the proprietary components Bliss lists separately from the base open source build. On the vanilla FOSS release, you do not get it. You have to pick the build that includes it. Here's the thing the marketing pages do not tell you. As of the time I made this video, the Bliss OS project's own website and community chat channels are under a self-declared temporary lockdown. Their notice is direct. The Telegram support group and the Discord chat are closed. All Bliss OS websites are affected. They cannot give a date for when the lockdown lifts. Development chats between contributors remain open, and the release archives on SourceForge are still there for download. This is not a project shutting down. The teams say they are focused on the next chapter of Bliss OS. But it does mean that if you install Bliss today and you get stuck, the usual place to ask for help is closed. You are on your own with the documentation. A 2-person nonprofit going up against a $1 trillion operating system has to protect its time somehow. Just know that going in. What about the things people want to do beyond a browser? Bliss is Android. That means the Play Store is there. That means the apps on your phone are the apps on your PC. A weather app. A newsreader. A note-taking app. WhatsApp, Signal, all of them install and open the way they do on a phone. Video playback is a strong suit for Android in general, and the Bliss builds carry that forward. The desktop can be plugged into a television using an ordinary HDMI cable. Because a modern desktop PC has an HDMI port and modern televisions have HDMI inputs. What you get on the TV is the same Android interface you already know how to use. Gaming is where you have to be realistic. A 12-year-old Office PC has no dedicated graphics card worth naming. Bliss will run simple Android games. It will not run anything demanding. Anyone promising you a gaming rig from a $45 Optiplex is selling you a story. Bliss is not that story. Bliss is a story about keeping an old machine useful. On Windows 11, this machine is not allowed to exist. Microsoft's rules say it is unsafe. On Windows 10, it still boots, but with no more security updates after October 2026, even for the paid extension, every day online is a day of exposure. Microsoft's answer is to buy a new PC. A new PC costs $600, $800, $1,000. Google's answer, delivered through a nonprofit run by volunteers, is free. 2.2 gigabytes. Installs alongside Windows without touching your files, if your processor is Haswell or newer. It is not perfect. Some apps have no close button. The default settings are rough. The community support is currently closed. If your CPU is older than 2013, none of this works for you at all. These are real problems, and I am not going to pretend they are not. But here is the question I keep coming back to. A $1 trillion company looked at hundreds of millions of computers and said they were too old to be safe. A group of unpaid volunteers working on donations said no, they are not, and put out a 2.2 gigabyte download to prove it. One of those two organizations is telling the truth about what your PC can still do. If you are sitting on a machine Microsoft has written off, and your processor is Haswell or newer, this is worth an evening of your time. Your files stay safe. Windows stays where it is. If Android on a desktop is not for you, you delete the partition and go back. There is nothing to lose. I have put a full step-by-step guide together, including which Bliss build to choose for older hardware, in the Windows Escape Kit. Link in the description. $17. One time. Question for you. What is the oldest computer you still have running in the house? Tell me the model and the year in the comments. I read them all. If this video was useful, subscribe. The machines Microsoft threw away are not dead. Somebody just had to say it out loud.